The other big news that happened this week was Bob Myers deciding to step down from the Golden State Warriors as president and GM, and I think that's the first shoe to drop with this Warriors dynasty. This might, I don't know if they're retooling or rebooting or moving forward with the core, but I'm going to tell you why I think Bob Myers stepped down. I could be wrong, but I'm going to tell you what I think, right? Um, First, I'm going to play something that Magic Johnson said when he was asked on Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp's podcast, on why he stepped down for the Lakers.
I regret not calling LeBron, telling him I was stepping down.
Right.
I really regretted that.
Right.
I owed him that.
Why did you step down?
Shannon, it's just I had to. I thought I had the power to do what I wanted to do.
Right. And the power. What did you want to do?
I wanted to fire Luke Walton.
You didn't feel that he was capable of doing the job.
I knew he wasn't.
Right.
And so I said, hey, we gotta let him go. He's not the right guy. He's not a great coach for the Laker team. And they wanted to keep him. So I said, okay. I already knew that I didn't want to fracture the great relationship I had with Jeanie Buss.
Right.
So you heard what Magic Johnson said. And I think that's important because, from a GM or a president's perspective, right? You want to be able to have the power to do what you want to do, right? And Magic Johnson didn't feel like he had that power because he was supposed to be the president, but then they got this GM position that Rob Pelinka was filling, and I guess he felt really ambitious. And then Luke Walton was a hire from Jeanie Buss. And they had a relationship or whatever, they had some type of familiarity. And Magic Johnson going to Jeanie Buss saying, I want to fire him, or maybe going to Rob Pelinka and saying we should fire him. Someone was giving pushback and saying no. Maybe it was the Rambises, maybe it was Jeanie Buss, maybe it was all of them, right? And he was like, dude, why am I here? Like, if I can't make these decisions, I think this is what need to be done, and nobody's backing me, right? And he was like, all right, look, man, I just give it to y'all, I'm out, right? I want you to think about that. Because I think Bob Myers is a smart guy. He's no dummy. And we got a couple of things that's going against the Warriors coming up in the next year, especially year after next, right? That new CBA is going to penalize the Warriors very mightily for what they got going on with their contracts and their roster and their payroll, right? They're already paying heavily in the tax right now. So to keep this team together the way they want to, the way Steve Kerr wants to, and the way Draymond, Clay, and Steph wants to, that Joe Lacob is going to be paying so much luxury tax, it's going to be ridiculous, right? So that CBA is already working against them. The luxury tax already working against them. And then the guys that they're paying most of that money to, like Draymond, is opting into, he's probably going to opt into a $27 million contract for his final year, and Clay's final year, he's making $43 million. And just to put that in perspective, you got Klay Thompson making $43 million, and he's not your second best player anymore. All right, your second best player might be Wiggins, and after Wiggins, it might be Jordan Poole if he could ever get his stuff together, right? But Clay's not the number two like that no more. And he's getting paid like he's the number. He's getting paid like a number one because he's making it just $2 million less than Dame Lillard next year. Dame Lillard is making 45 next year. Clay's making 43. So imagine that. Imagine how good Dame is, and he's a number one, and he's younger, and he hasn't had the major injuries that Clay has had. He's making 45. Clay's making 43, and he's not even your second, first, or third best player. Right. So just imagine that. So you're paying those guys, they're getting older, they're declining, and they're an asset in some way, but not in the way that their money is needing to be an asset. So Bob Myers is looking at all of that, and he was drafting to replace those guys. You can tell he was, because he drafted Jordan Poole. He turned himself into a third splash brother, and the writing was on the wall, as Draymond said on his podcast. He said the writing was on the wall. I knew, it's my time's probably up, right? That's basically what he's saying. Clay knows that too. So he's looking at his replacement in Jordan Poole. Draymond is looking at Wiseman be drafted number 1 and say, okay, that's where y'all want to go. Y'all want to go back to a 7-footer down low. You know what I mean? He knows that his time is gonna be up. Not only did they draft Wiseman, they bring in Wiggins, they bring in Moody, they bring in Kuminga, right? All of these guys, Bob Myers was drafting and bringing in, and he was like, we're gonna keep this thing rolling. He already knew at some point he was gonna have to come off Clay and Dre. That's what I think he was getting at. What I think happened is, based on what I'm hearing during these press conferences, is number one, nobody in that core 3 of Steph, Clay, and Draymond thinks that their time is up. So those 3 guys are 100% thinking we're the best bet for the Warriors. You got to keep us together. You have to keep us here. But both of them already had said they want the max contract. So not only do they want to play their final year of their contract, they want an extension for the max, right? And rightfully so. I think they feel like they earned it, because now you got a team in the Golden State that was bought for $500 million that's worth $4 billion, right? And you can sit here and say, I don't care what you think I'm gonna give you in the next 3 years. The money that I'm asking you to pay me now, I've already earned by making your team a $4 billion team with 4 rings, right? So that if I'm their agent, that's what I'm saying during the negotiation. So they're not cutting nobody no slack. They may, but they shouldn't, right? So I understand it from both ends, but from Bob Myers being stuck in the middle, he's looking at it like what needs to be done, the right thing that needs to be done, either he can't do because his emotions are tied into Steph, Dre, and Claymon, Steph, Dre, and Clay. I'm sorry, Steph, Clay, and Draymond. Steph, Clay, and Draymond, his emotions are tied up in them, and he don't want to say, all right, we got to split. Y'all got to go. I don't want to, as the GM that was here from the beginning with y'all, I can't be the one to tell y'all not getting a max extension, and I can't be the one to trade you. So either emotionally he can't handle that, or he can handle that and he's expressed that that's what he want to do, but the front office is not agreeing with him. And if we can include in the front office is the GM, the owner, and Steve Kerr, we already know there's a disconnect with the GM and Steve Kerr, because Steve Kerr is on the side of Steph, Clay, and Draymond. He's saying this is not a championship team without Draymond. And there's no reason for him to go to a press conference after they got put out in the second round and say that if it wasn't being talked about around the arena. So this has at least been talked about. Draymond already said the writing is on the wall. They already paid Poole, right? They're keeping Kuminga. Like these are the things that's letting you know somebody in that office is trying to move forward. And then we know Steve Kerr is not. Steve Kerr don't want to move forward without all 3 of those guys. And he said, without Dre, there's not a championship team. So basically what I would say if I'm Bob Myers is, okay, Steve Kerr, you're telling me that you can't win. You can't coach a winning team without Draymond. So whenever Draymond leaves Golden State, you need to leave too. If that's what you're telling me. If you can't figure out how to use Steph Curry, if Steph Curry is as good as everybody say he is, and you can't figure out how to retool around him and create a contender without Draymond, you're telling me Draymond has to be there, then why the hell am I paying you? You get what I'm saying? Like, I need you to figure it out. Like, Eric Spoelstra lost LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. And then he got back to the finals twice. I need you to figure it out. That's what we're paying you for. I need you to figure it out. You can't tell me I have to overpay and pay in a luxury because you can't get rid of Draymond Green and figure out how to coach a Steph Curry in his prime or toward the end of his prime with a lot of left in the tank. You can't tell me that. So what I will be saying is, I don't care what you think. We're trading Draymond, we're trading Clay, and we're going to get pieces in here that's going to fit, and you're going to make it fit. You got a whole summer to figure it out, training camp, and 82 games and plus the playoffs. That's what you got. That's what I would tell them. So that's exactly what I think is going on. I think Bob emotionally can't do what needs to be done, or someone's not letting him. Like I said, we know Steve Kerr don't want to do it. We just don't know what Joe Lacob is thinking. So which side did Joe Lacob take? Did he take Steve Kerr's side, or is he taking Bob Myers' side? And Bob Myers is saying, whatever, or maybe Joe Lacob or it could be different. Maybe they all on one accord. Maybe Bob Myers, Steve Kerr, and Steph, Dre, and Clay are all on the same accord. But the owner is saying, I refuse to pay this luxury tax. We need to shed this salary. Right? It could be that. So that's my whole 2 cents on it. I think what needs to be done, they're not all on the same page. And I think